Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'm Gunnar Rios, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. I'm joined tonight by Mr. BlankaKong and Mr. Zeta Kaiser, and we got a good episode for you tonight. This is Zeta brought this to our attention. He wanted to do this kind of episode, kind of off the heels of our a previous episode we recorded in regards to modern gaming and bad games kind of being the new normal and how we disagreed with that sentiment. So check that out if you want to kind of see the origins of this topic. So after that episode, he came to us with the idea of doing a topic about studio bloat. We hear stuff about, you know, which we'll talk about on the episode. We have like a lot of indie games that are made by one guy and turn out to be phenomenal, or a small team, and how we have some OGs in the gaming history, like World of Warcraft, that was just made by a handful of people and became the fucking dominant MMO for a while until 14 rolled along, and how we have the other side of the spectrum with studios like the one behind Forspoken, who had over hundreds of developers and gave us Forspoken. So that's just a quick and dirty synopsis of the topic. I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Zeta Kaiser, and he's gonna kind of like go from there, and we'll chime in on on his points. So, without further ado, I pass it to you, sir.
All right. So yeah, it was just basically a continuation, like you said, of my ideas of just looking at for AAA space and just everything that's going on, and just questioning why our staffs or just employment. I don't want to say employment, that seems wrong, but sizes seem too large. Like, some of these companies have way too many employees for the games that they are producing, and for me, it's not adding up. It's like they have all this manpower, all this money, and these games are either mid, broken, or in Todd's case, we swear there's going to be content. Just wait. Just give us a minute. We swear to God, we'll make this game good. Why didn't we win any awards? Anyways, and then when you look on the flip side to the indies or the smaller studios, and you'll have like two, maybe like max 20 some odd people, and they'll make, for by today's standards, some of the most, or what will become some of the most memorable games of this generation. Like, we have stuff like Stardew Valley. We have the Super Giants making Hades. We're going to make Hades 2. Is it called Hades 2? Well, I'm calling it Hades 2
uh,
for now.
I, does it? I'm calling. Yeah, it's Hades too. Yeah.
It's Hades 2 for right now. I forgot what the actual freaking sub name is, but yeah, we have those. We have the the man of self, Mr. Toby Fox, and his Undertale. We've got uh well, it's Microsoft now, but at the time, I think it was just 10 years now. We were just Mahjong Studios, where they just made Minecraft. Like, these things that are like gonna last way longer than, say, Overwatch, minus the porn. That's gonna be the
That will
legacy of
that
Overwatch.
will live eternal. Yes.
Yeah, the legacy of Overwatch is going to be for porn, not the game itself. And when while I was trying to do research to find out, like, all right, so they have all this, like, how many people worked on some of these games. Some of these games to just like have excessive amounts of people, I feel like, working on it. So, like, as an example that I'll start off with is, since we talked about Overwatch already, like, at the time when Overwatch was still under Project Titan, they had over 140, 160 people working on it, and then that eventually got gutted down to only like 40 people. But even then, like, it originally was 140 people working on basically like an MMO style shooter. And when you compare that to like the Plas, the Past Wizard, Blizzard.
Blizzard.
Like, yeah, all over the place with my words. But like, yeah, like the past Blizzard, they made World of Warcraft, but they made World of Warcraft with just 60 people. Now you could be like, oh, it was a different time. It's not as pretty. Blah 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 blah. Well, you can make up all other kinds of like reasons as to why they now need as many people on a development team as they do, and I don't feel like that checks out. Like I feel like there's just too much bloat in some of these studios and the amount of people that they have on staff that they don't need. And I feel like this shows with just things that are happening now. Like studios are getting cut down, teams are getting cut down. Like the fat is being trimmed a lot, so things are not all sunny and bright on the AAA side of things.
Mm.
But yeah, I'll jump around. I'll see if anybody else wants anything. If anything else has any
Uh,
comments before
yeah. Um, I mean, we talked about this a little bit. Spoiler alert. We talked about this a little bit the other day, where I think the reason why some of these studios, especially because you mentioned Overwatch, so like people like Blizzard and Activision and stuff like that for the Call of Duty, why they have such a huge development team now is because these type of games work on content cycles. So, Overwatch didn't start off with battle passes. They started off with loot boxes, but now that, battle pass is just the new loot box. So, but the formula is still the same. Like, yeah, it has to be new skins, new emotes, new stickers, new voice lines, all that stuff. So, like, I think a lot of those people are on staff. It's just like this guy just makes skins. So there's like a Christmas event that comes out. He's got to make skins for all the for like 4 characters for the Christmas event. That's what he's doing. Then Halloween rolls around. Then you have like random epic and legendary skins. So I think I mean, I'm basing this off of nothing. I'm pulling it out of my ass. But I feel that that's where a lot of that that's where a decent amount of that manpower goes to, because to develop that type of constant flow of content for multiple characters, it's going to need people on staff to do that. Same with Fortnite. Look at Fortnite. Fortnite's constantly churning out skins and gliders and
dances and
pickaxes
all
and
that other crap.
yeah, and like so like I'm pretty sure there are people that work at oh my god.
Just epic.
Epic, there you go. People that work at Epic, that's their job, is to conceptualize and formalize and then create and implement skins. Like they have no idea what the damage on a machine gun does, but they know how to put a particle effect on a glider. So
To make this glider more epic than the other glider.
right, yeah, because I need you to pay $20 as opposed to $15.
Yeah.
So I think for those type of games, that like that could account for some of that staff. And because the content treadmill just doesn't end, like you're gonna need those people to constantly churn out stuff. For other games, like your single player games, I don't know. Like that to me that's a little harder to justify, because with a single player game, it has or it should have a definite beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
So why do you need over 500 people for something like um you know Forspoken? I get Baldur's Gate, right? If we're talking about current games, Baldur's Gate, that shit is huge.
Yeah.
Like that has a bunch of moving parts to it, like a bunch of different, what happens if you pick this option as opposed to that option and that option and that option. So I understand the studio behind it.
You know,
I understand.
I didn't even look at them to see like how
I
big that
think
team was.
I think they're a pretty decent size. They're not huge. They're not like on like Blizzard levels, but they are decently sized. And they produced a game like Baldur's Gate, which has a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah.
So,
But I believe they did the other one. So I think they did the first two, and I think they did uh about to say Path of Exile. That's wrong. Um,
Divinity Original Sin,
yes,
I think is
yes,
what
that's
you're
what
looking
I
for.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that, and I think the Pathfinder, the other D&D thing, I'm almost certain they did those. I know they did Divinity, that's for sure. So they at least have experience doing this kind of thing. So yeah, they might the more uh in depth that they want it to be for where they're at now with Baldur's Gate. Yeah, that team size, if it is large, would make sense because it's like, look, we knew how it was when we made like the first two. We need more people to answer or be able to test out all these possible outcomes.
Right. Right.
But
So, yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of these studios, it is a lot of bloat. Um, and I think a lot of them are starting to suffer from that weight because we see a lot of layoffs in the game industry. So, and when these games fail, like the suits, the guys who fund these things, they're gonna look at the studio and then be like, well, you had all these people. We thought that was enough people to to make a game that sells 1 trillion copies, and it didn't. So why do we keep this studio around? Yeah, it has negative impacts on the studios
yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
So it could be a few things. I know for like um, government sponsored programs, like in healthcare or whatever, they will get money from the government, from their local government, and they're given a budget, and that department has to figure out a way to basically spend all the money in the budget in order to get the same amount of money the following year, right?
That was funny. We said that the other day.
So
Yeah.
it could be, for some studios, it could be something along those lines where um the money bags, like the whoever's funding the project, might be like, okay, well, I want to get into the gaming space. I want to get into the battle royale stuff. So how much would it cost to build a battle royale game that can have a 200% profit turnover, something like that? Whoever negotiates that will say, it takes X amount of dollars, and they'll probably pull a few numbers out of their ass. And I mean, honestly, you can make games with just a few people, right? There's plenty of examples of like games that go viral. I'm playing one now that was made by one person or two people or four people. And it's just like, you don't need 100 people to make a good game, especially one that can make money. So like, that's just a urban myth, obviously. So it could be that.
Yeah.
It could also be just padding the certain departments. So like, there'll be extra people on the writing team, or there'll be this kind of like human resources department that like has 2 or 3 more people than it really needs, or they'll have like community managers, like more community managers than they need, and like social media fucking expert managers, and all these like new positions that didn't exist 20 years ago, that didn't need to exist 20 years ago, and probably still don't need to exist today, but do exist because we have all this money, we need to spend it. um so that there's that. Or in some cases, like, it might be like somebody who is funding the project, who wants to hire people that they know, but maybe these people don't have any skills, and so they'll kind of make up positions for them just to give them a reason to pay them. So it could be that as well. I have a few examples though. So like, a game that I'm currently playing that a lot of people are playing is like Lethal Company. This weird indie horror game. It was made by one dude, and he basically built the game over time in Roblox, and then eventually made it into its own thing. And he's already made like $35 million in like 3 months. So like, that's one dude, right? Who's like really passionate and like put in all this time and effort and produced this like really fun game. And now he's like in a position to like build his own studio if he wanted to, like to have a real game studio. Then there's like a game like Skyrim, which is still being played today, still being republished on everything you can imagine. That was made by about 100 people. Whereas a game like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 4, was made by 1,000 people at Ubisoft, which was like,
Holy shit.
in the credits, right? Like, that includes
Okay.
people, not just programmers and artists, but also like community manager and fucking,
generic voice actors and
voice
people,
actors
everything.
and
Guy who knows how to pilot a pirate ship, because we had ships in that
yeah,
game.
like any advisors who might have like historians
Yeah, there
or
you
whatever,
go. That's yeah.
who might have like contributed to like the accuracy of the history in the game or whatever. So like that's a lot of people. And while Assassin's Creed 4 was a great game, I think it's probably one of the better Assassin's Creed games in their
I'd have to agree.
set of games. Like, I don't think they made nearly as much as Skyrim in their respective lifetimes. And both games came out not too far away from each other. Like, Skyrim came out in 2011, and Black Flag came out in 2012, 2013. So while Black Flag was very successful, like, it took like times 10 the fucking manpower to produce that game. And then, like, I don't know what Starfield's development team looks like, but I know they've been working on the game for a long time, and I know Bethesda has grown a lot since the 2010s, and they probably have quadrupled the amount of people working on Starfield than they did Skyrim, and that game hasn't met the success that I think they wanted. And it's like, it's clear, like, more doesn't mean better. Sometimes less is more. And I think developers need to, or not even developers, I think developers know that. I think people in power who are actually controlling, like, the decision makers, they need to, like, really evaluate that and go, wait a second, like, how is it that these 20 people were able to produce this, and now they're, like, swimming in money and profits, and we're sitting here, we're taking losses left and right. Like, why is that? I don't think they're doing their due diligence, or the people that they have doing the research for them is feeding them incorrect information. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
It could be one or the other. Another game that was produced by a small indie studio that did really well was The Forest, the other great game that I like a lot. That game was developed by 4 people. And
Both of them, The Forest and Sons of the Forest, or
just the first one. The Sons of the Forest, I couldn't find any hard data. But presumably they have more people working on Sons of the Forest, right? But the first one, which...
But even then, it still probably be sub 20.
Probably, right? It's probably not more than 15 people, right? And I think I'm being generous with them. Because they know what they can do with just 4 people. So, like, why would they inflate? They might have, but, I don't... That would just be silly. But yeah, 4 people made that game, and that's one of the best, like, survival horror games I've ever played. Yeah, it's janky. Yeah, it could be better, but, like, when you say it's janky, it could be better. It's the stuff that could be better. It's like the hit detection could be a little bit, like, it could be cleaned up, and, like, the graphics could be polished.
Which I think a slightly bigger team could iron that out. Like, if you have maybe 3 or 4 guys whose job is to iron out the jank, then it would be a great game. Like, it would be a fluid, solid game on top of already great experience just by adding a couple more people. But the meat of it is already there. Like,
right.
It's already great.
Like, the game had apparently 2 programmers and, like, 2 artists. It's like, okay, so, like, maybe double, right? 8 people. And then have, like, your 2 programmers, and maybe have, like, another 1 or 2 more programmers under those guys just to, like, clean up code or whatever. And then maybe have, like, a combat specialist, like, somebody who's really good at coding combat for, like, other games, work on the combat specifically. Like, there's different ways that they could have gone about that to, like, make the game better. Obviously, they didn't have the funding to do that, but this is all hypothetical. You don't need 100 people to make a game like The Forest cleaner. Like, you really don't, right? You need maybe 5 more really qualified, experienced artists / programmers to make that happen, and you would have a much better gaming experience, and it wouldn't cost that much more. It would cost way more to have, well, we need 95 more people. It's like, what do you mean we need 95 more people? What are you talking about? But like, this is what happens when like companies meet a certain level of growth to where they have so much profits that they don't know what to do. Like they don't know how to reinvest it intelligently in order to maintain the same quality of product, but also maybe maintain similar profit margins. Like they just end up reinvesting too much or reinvesting into like sectors that they have no business doing so. So I think that's why we see so much bloat. But there's also like politics behind it, I'm sure. Like, you know, my in-laws retarded son needs like work, so he could be the social media
video games.
he could be the social media manager or whatever. What does that entail? Who knows?
I'll whiz them up, Dad. Don't worry.
I think that's also going off of that. I think it's also like the people who started are like the actual developers, or this is like they do this, and then like at some point they hire a business person who just understands making numbers go up, and so like they make different decisions that if you was a developer slash the owner of the company that you would not make, because you're like, well, I don't need this, and this isn't going to help me right now. Whereas a business person will go, oh, well, we need to do this for X, Y, and Z reasons, charts and graphs and stuff. Line go up. And so like they'll start, like you said, they'll start hiring the Zoomer freaking to run Twitter and all these other stuffs, and doing these other just generic things that seem like a good idea, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but when it doesn't, it really hurts. But those people don't suffer for it. It's the people who are actually creating the thing that's just like, all right, well, y'all didn't do your job, even though your job was to make this thing that you couldn't make, that wasn't realistic for what I was asking. Like, great example is Anthem, because they just didn't know what the hell they wanted, but they just kept coming to them with different ideas and like basically tried to make them start from scratch, and then that just didn't happen, or half-ass happened, and then look what happened to that game.
I'm pretty sure with Anthem, like I don't have any proof for this. This is just speculation. But, like I'm pretty sure Anthem started off as like a really cool idea of a single player game, maybe a co-op, local co-op game,
yeah.
like a 2-player game that we could play together on the same system or something like that. And they were like, this would be really cool. And, like they had like a world design set and all that. And then they saw like the success that games like Destiny saw, and they were like, wow, we could just take that idea and inject it with like Destiny, right? Let's just make it like Destiny. And it's like, yeah, well, it's not really what we had in mind. Okay, shut up, nerd. We're the ones who we know what we're talking about. Like, just this is gonna work, okay?
Who's paying rent for the studio, not you?
Right. And so I'm pretty sure that's kind of what happens a lot of the time. That's probably what happened with Anthem, where they had like a great idea or a great like world that they wanted to like make a game around, and so they probably had like a budget, and some new fucking asshole came into power and was like, yeah, no, that single player games don't sell. Like, yeah, we're not doing that, because if we spend that much money, we're not going to make that back. Like, we need to make that back plus then some. So instead, we're going to make it like this game, like this battle royale game or this weird multiplayer game. We're just going to copy that design and just implement it into this. Oh, you have no experience building games like that? Well, figure it out. We're going to take you out of your comfort zone, and we're going to make you build a game that we want you to build, as far as like how it's monetized, and we're just going to bastardize your idea and your vision and your art to make a quick buck, and on to the next one. That's exactly what happened to Suicide Squad, which,
Oh my god, to be announced, man. I know nobody here is gonna play it, but I would just love to like see how that clusterfuck is gonna turn out.
It's gonna. I mean,
Isn't that the same thing that happened
Marvel's
to
Avengers,
Arkham Knights? Well, yeah, Marvel's Avengers
well,
first,
Gotham
and then
Knights.
Arkham Knights.
Yeah,
was
Gotham
like,
Knights.
Yeah, Gotham Knights, and like they took out the stuff that was like Marvel's Avengers, because they was like, oh,
yeah, and then
that's not.
So
good.
the game was supposed to be. It was supposed to be like what Marvel's Avengers was. I say was because the game is dead. Good riddance. And then they realized the failure that game suffered, and then they backpedaled and was like, "Fuck, we gotta try and make this like a pseudo single player game, but like with the same design method and just design philosophies as
just
this
gathering
game,
loot and stuff, and it's like this.
And it doesn't work
Nobody wants this from a Batman
because
game.
it's like if you're cooking something and you start off with like, I don't know, you're gonna make fried chicken, right? You're frying it, and then it gets a little burnt, and you're like, well, shit, like, what do I make now? Like, I guess I could cut up the chicken and make chicken salad.
It's all right. We're making grilled chicken now.
Yeah, like now it's like I'm just gonna cut up the chicken and then put it with like some fucking greens, and it's like, oh, it's chicken salad now, and it's like, yeah, but it's burnt. So it's like, well, it's chicken salad. Enjoy. Like, it's like that's not what you meant to make.
I mean that game's already coming under fire because I've seen I think Zeta shared it where they're dunking on the loot where it's like plus 5% to fucking
My poison
yeah, it's like, but that's a whole nother topic about the bastardization of RPG mechanics in these games. But yeah, that's a good example. I was also curious to hear you guys' thoughts. I think a part of it, or some of it, could be speed at which the games need to be produced nowadays. A good example of an indie game that came out great but took a long time to develop was Chain of Echoes. Like, I love that RPG. Great RPG made by one guy over the course of 10 years. So it took him a decade to make that game, but it came out great. Like, it had, it was solid RPG mechanics, a bunch of systems that were fun and engaging. I mean, hell, he even designed mech combat in a art. Like, so there's two different forms of combat. Like, the game is great. Like, it was my game of the year it came out. But then you have games like Final Fantasy 13, which took 10 years, and in my opinion, I would die with this opinion, is one of the worst Final Fantasy games ever. It's a trash game. So I think, like...
Still Noctis. It's still Noctis.
That game is crap. Tekken or not, he better stay in Tekken, because that's the only time people give a shit about him. But I think that's another side effect of huge studios, too, that it equates large studio with less development time. So if I have 1,000 people all making this game, well, we don't need to give it 3 years of development. We could do 2 years of development. Like, you don't have to see your wife. Just make the game, make the loot. That doesn't always
work. Like, you could have a large amount of people working on a project, and like you would think, like, okay, the more people, the more production goes up, right? Because more people are doing productive things, but that's not really how it works, especially with human beings. Like, if people see like, they look around and go, wow, like, there's a lot of us here, and these two guys are kind of doing all the work. Like, you'll either have like people who are like lost, like who just kind of stand there dumbfounded, or you'll have people that are like, well, fuck it, I'll just get a free paycheck and I'll just kind of like bullshit my way through. That's what you have. That's what you end up having, because it's like people are just opportunists.
Because you're not having quality. You just have quantity of people, and just like, all right, well, it's like, who's really going to check on me to make sure I'm doing what I'm doing? I'm not anybody important.
That's another thing too, is having too many managers. So like, there's a manager to the manager to the manager. Like, there's like this bloated fucking hierarchy that like doesn't stretch as far as it needs to where certain managers or directors or even producers aren't doing much because they're just kind of like just slotted into this like sandwich of like a hierarchy. Like, they're just in this sandwich of a hierarchy, and they're just like too close to the other manager to where it's like these two jobs could just be this one job, or these 3 jobs could just be this one job, or these 5 jobs could just be this one job. And so you keep doing that in each department. Eventually, you're just going to have like this like mess, right? And then if you have too many departments and these departments aren't working closely together, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. And so you're trying to build a game, right? You got the music department not communicating with the voice actors, and the voice actors not communicating with the artists, and the artists not communicating with the animators. Like, and they're all trying to bring this together. It's going to just come together like this weird Frankenstein clusterfuck, and that's how we get broken games. And then, oh, God forbid, we don't test our games. We could just do early access or whatever, or just not test it, just launch it, and we'll just fix it day one patches or whatever.
We'll patch it later, idiot.
Then we have that problem. It's just, I don't know, man. It's bad.
And
Before
then
I
and
get to
then
that, yeah,
and then
that's another thing.
that Zoomer kid is like, "Yo, game launches next
Yeah,
week.
he's
I already
on
posted it.
Twitter. He's
It's
making
live."
sure that shit is advertised. What were you gonna say, Zeta? My bad.
Uh, No, I was gonna say, but like before I jump to that, but nah, I forgot. Damn it.
Sorry.
But yeah, like the first part you were saying, where it's like there's too many teams going on. So like the going with Gunner's first point about 13, or just Square Enix in general now, is like how they had what they call business divisions, which when I was talking to him the other day, I said that's weird that you would call it that, but those were their teams for making games. They called them business divisions, and they had 11 of them, and then they ended up consolidating them down to 4. And just like, well, why did you have 11
In the first place,
different teams of who knows how many people? Yeah, if he was gonna just mush it down and just freaking either fire or just restructure everything to only just have
it's really
4
simple.
teams.
We have a lot of money, so obviously more is better. So hire more people. That was the thought process. Like that's just like there's some like there's a point in time, I don't know when, but I realized I think we talked about this like like just on a separate like just private conversation where like in life you grow up thinking people in positions of power or positions of respect or societal positions like police officer, teacher, whatever. Like you think as a kid, right, or as a teenager, or even as a young adult, you think that these people, well, surely they're in a position. They're a police officer because clearly they have a love for the law and they want to do the right thing, and you have this perception, right? Or you think of a teacher, like clearly this person's like really qualified to teach the next generation. Like clearly they've been vetted and like this person's like the best candidate for the job. So like obviously like I need you hold these people to like a high standard, or whatever, like politicians or fill in the blank, whatever you want, manager, director, supervisor, operator, doesn't matter. Like positions of like some leadership, you would think, okay, well this person's here for a reason, like and then you have that blind trust. And there was a point in time, I think in like my like mid-20s, I'll say, where I realized I was just bullshit. I was like, oh, just people are just given jobs. They're just given jobs.
The
Like
undefeated champion just comes in and just like, nope, that's not how it works.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, how did you get this job? Like, you don't know anything. You're a fucking idiot. And like, I started to see that more and more and more, and it was like, what the hell? Like that worldview was just shattered. And I was like, wow, like, holy shit, like, there's just a lot of idiots with a lot of positions of power here. What is happening right now?
Yep.
And so when I realized that, the illusion kind of diminished. And so now I just kind of like look at, like, I scrutinize everyone. And I look for mistakes because it's like, no, like, you're probably a moron. Like, I need to know if you're really qualified to do this job. Taking it back to the game development thing, it's kind of the same thing where like you think that an executive would know how to run this multi-billion-dollar or multi-million-dollar company, and then they hit you with, oh, we made 500% profits. Cool, we'll just make all these fucking departments, and surely we'll just make all the money back. It's like, what? Like, that's such a fucking little kid thing to do. It's just like, oh, I won the lottery? Cool, let me just buy all the candy. Surely more candy is better than some candy. And it's like, no, you don't spend all your money. You're like, no, I'm going to spend it all. And it's gone. And it's like, then they're like, oh, what happened? It's like, what do you mean what happened? You threw everything away. And so that's what Square Enix did with the business divisions. They made 11 fucking divisions for whatever reason, right? They just thought 11 was just a good number. And then they were like, we just lost X amount of dollars this year. And these particular divisions or fucking departments aren't producing anything. Like, these aren't people who are making the game. They're not programming. They're not drawing. They're not modeling. They're not rigging. They're not animating. They're not doing shit. They're just kind of directing the business. Like, what does that even mean? Get the fuck out of here. We could consolidate this, right? And they consolidated by 60%. That's insane, right? So, I don't know. Sorry, I ranted there, but like,
no,
Jesus Christ, it's so frustrating.
That's how I was when I was looking all this stuff up. I was just ranting to myself, writing notes. I'm like, why is this happening? How did we get here? Like, what's
Nobody's asking these questions. That's how you get there. People just doing shit, and it's like, what are you doing? This is like, oh, I'm just doing stuff.
But it shouldn't even be like that hard of a question. Like another one that I had wrote down was the people who made Path of
Mhm.
Exile. Again, I was talking with Gunnar about it, and it was like it started out with just two guys. Like now, Grinding Gear Games, the studio, now it's 120 people, but at the time of them making Path of Exile, it was just two, and then it bumped up to 25, and even then, right now, it's only 120, and then you compare that to fucking Diablo 4 and the mess that it is, and Blizzard and its 13,000 employees. Like I know not all 13,000 is working on freaking Diablo 4, but it's just like look at the fucking like just the difference between how Path of Exile is treated and the mess that was Diablo 4. It's just like what do you these guys made this game based off your old game. Like where did you go so wrong?
Well, there's two things. Number one, the same people working on Diablo 4 aren't the
Yeah,
same
I
people
was
that were
gonna say
working on the
that.
original
Yeah.
Diablo games. So, like, these new developers inherited that IP through just association with being, working in that same company. So that's number one. Number two is again the bloat. Like, we have all this money. Okay, let's just they just fucking gamble it. Like it's like let's just put it all here and like let's hire these people and like obviously like if we invest $10 million, we're gonna make 25 million. Like, and that's just not how it works. With it's not like you hear the saying like 10,000 hours of anything you're a master at it. Like that's not how business works. Like it doesn't matter how much you invest. It does matter to a degree, but like there's a certain point of like no return to where it's like you're investing way too like such a thing as diminishing returns, like, or
Yeah.
even worse than that, right, where you get nothing back, where you go fucking minus. They think like, oh, if I play the saxophone every day, by the end of the year I'll know how to play the saxophone. It's like that's true, but like if you also work out every day unsafely, you're not going to get stronger. You're going to destroy your body. So the business is kind of more like the whole working out thing. It's like if you do too much of a certain thing, you will inflate that that particular division or your whole business, and it will destroy itself. Like you will just if you just do things blindly and just throw money at things, you will not get a return because there's no plan in place. You have to have a fucking plan. You have to have like, okay, what are we doing here? What's the goal? How are we going to get there? What are the best steps in order for us to get there? Like what's the game plan here? They don't have a game plan. They just kind of just do stuff. Um,
Well,
that's what I think.
feel
I'm not in these boardroom meetings. I don't
no.
know, but like surely that has to be what's happening.
I think that they do have the problem. Or the problem is that I think they do have a game plan. The problem is that their game plan isn't how I have this separated. Whereas this indie and then like these current AAA places, the indie people they want to make a game and they want people to like it and buy it. Whereas the AAA people are just like, we just want to take your money. That's all we want to do. We just want to do the bare minimum to get your money out of your hands into our
But
pockets.
that's not a. You're right.
It's not
You're
a
right.
plan,
It's not a
but
plan.
it is.
It's just like it's a fucking scheme is what it is.
Yeah, but that is what they want. Because like even with like I know you're probably right. Oh no, you're not probably right. You're definitely right. I'm sure the people who made Diablo 1 and 2 aren't there anymore. But like this wasn't a problem at Diablo 3, and Diablo 3 isn't that old.
It kind of
But
is
Diablo
though.
4 was.
About 10 years ago.
I mean, but not from when Diablo 4 started, because this started with the whole it's like, don't you guys have phones? Like
Yeah, Immortal. Yeah.
I don't think that was a 10-year gap at that point. I think it
I
might have been
mean, less than that.
between 3 and
I
whenever
mean,
they
it was
announced
pre-pandemic,
Immortal.
so it was probably like 2018. I think that happened.
Yeah, like, but like that was like the start right there, where they were just like, nah, we're gonna be on mobile, and then they eventually made Diablo 4, but it still had like a mobile business
Yeah.
model. So it was like that was just like they just whatever happened after 3, or whoever was in charge after 3 was just like, nah, this is it. We're gonna do what the mobile gaming is doing because it's working for them, and we want that.
It was the businessmen. At that point, the
Yeah.
businessmen took over. Yeah.
Yeah, they just the suits came in and be like, we're here to save you, just like as the phrase goes. Hello, I'm the government and I'm here to help. It's now I am the suit and I'm here to make money.
And just
But-
like the algorithm says, we put these
Yeah.
things in the game.
Yeah, it's like the algorithm, exactly that. The algorithm says this is what people want. Like every I mean, it's the devil's advocate. It could be argued it happens in the indie scene, but I feel like that's more a factor of it's easier for them to make constant
I,
roguelikes and stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
it could happen in the indie scene. Like, yeah, there is definitely a pattern with a lot of these games being roguelikes and card-based games, because they're relatively easy to do, and you've seen like Hollow Knight and Hades and Slay the Spire, like they become huge hits. Um, but there have been some indie developers that once they've developed a good game and it made more money than they ever imagined it would, they do get that chip on their shoulders, and they start acting like they got Square Enix money or they got fucking Activision money. And it's like, whoa, calm down. You made a good game. Just like, try to keep yourself from flying too high and kind of stay leveled.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect to indie games too.
Oh yeah, no, you're definitely right. I didn't write any of them down because I'm just like those people. Unfortunately for them, don't have the coffin of the AAA games to where it's like if something goes wrong, they could be like, oh well, whatever. We'll stem the bleeding by freaking cutting off a department or whatever, and then we'll just do something
Right.
else
Yeah.
that'll give us some money. Like I put down the EA and the Battlefield and all that drama that happened there. And when it was like, you don't like it, don't buy it, blah 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 blah, and then it was just like, they're actually not buying it. Oh shit, they weren't actually supposed to listen to us. Whoops. And then we make a new FIFA game, and people just buy all the fucking cars there, and then we make our money back. Battlefield is fucked, but EA is able to save itself because we could just make another FIFA fucking and sell team packs.
Yeah, it's people like that, and like the first example that comes to mind when you mention that was the Xbox One launch campaign with Don Matrick, and that guy's fucking like smug. Like if you go back and watch, it's like, yo, this guy has such a fucking punchable face. Like he has such a smug attitude about like the Xbox One's like DRM features and like always checking in online and it being paired with the Kinect like forcefully and all that. He was just like, hey, listen, if I remember this one clip. He said, "Hey, listen, if the Xbox One doesn't meet your needs, we have a great product. It's called the Xbox 360." And I remember that line. I mean, I was like, "You like, how can you say something like really? You're not listening." And then the Xbox One obviously had a really poor launch. It had a poor Xbox One was the start of like, I don't want to say the end, but like the start of a really bad run for Microsoft's Xbox division. Microsoft as a company obviously is doing well for itself, but specifically Xbox, the gaming division, they had a rough like 10 years. Even they're still having a rough time. Yeah, they're making a comeback with Game Pass and all that, but like they're still not where they want to be as far as like
not where they should have been after the Xbox and the 360.
Yeah, like not where they should be. Yeah, their
that.
trajectory just went straight into the opposite direction. And like if you were looking, like if we went back into the past, let's say go back to like 2007, 2008, and be like, yeah, so like the Xbox, the next Xbox system is actually going to flop, and like they're going to have a really bad 10 years after the 360 success. And it's like, how the fuck, like I would be thinking like, how could that happen? Like they're doing so well right now. Like how could they drop the ball? And well, luckily we're in the timeline where we know exactly how. So yeah, you're.
Ubisoft is following right behind them. It's like, y'all just need to get used to not owning our
games. Oh,
games.
yeah, that article was crazy.
Those dudes are wild.
That was insane.
Ubisoft be saying the wildest shit just like unprompted. This is like...
Just get used to this dick up your ass. Like, just don't think about it. Duh.
You still got Square Enix being very cad. Like, oh, yeah, we think the future of gaming is releasing it in parts because it allows us to make more cohesive bite-sized gameplay. Ubisoft's like, nah, you ain't gonna own shit. We'll take it away from you, and you're just gonna accept it, bitch. It's like, God, fuck, damn.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just like, why? Where did you people come from? How did you get in here? I don't understand. I don't understand how
business sectors like they came from other companies, and they were business advisors in the financial, the financial sector, or in like they were just like. They're working in marketing for like pharmaceutical companies. Like these people are coming from outside of the gaming space, and they're coming into the gaming space because the gaming space is not profitable.
Invading.
They're invading, 100%.
just driving me mad because, but then they'll look at something and it'll look at me like, oh, why is this game profitable? I don't know, just copy it and it'll work. And it's just like you don't understand why, but people like this and
They,
what it is that
the
is
reality is
attracting
they don't
people
give a
to
fuck.
it.
Like they're like, I don't care. Just make the fucking game. What the hell are you still? Why are you still
Right,
here?
but
Get back in there and draw, damn it!
you
Like,
can do both. You can do both. You could be like, I want the money. Whatever they are doing, just like back in the day. Back in the day, we did this. We want the money, but we would study them. We'd be like, all right, I don't know why this is working so well. Just study it and figure it out, and then we would make a copy, and then we'd bring it over here, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, so this is why this works. Cool. Put our own spin on it, and now we'll hopefully make
So-
our own thing, and it'll be
I
successful.
have a video to share with you guys, but I can't share it mid conversation. It'll have to be after the podcast. But I'll just like kind of give you the synopsis and like the briefing of it. So there's this video of a developer who used to work at Obsidian, and he worked on like I think Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3. Like he's an older guy, so like he had been there for a long time. Probably worked on like the original Fallout game, right? And so he was talking about like some of the challenges that he had faced with the development team on future games, specifically I think Fallout 4 and like Outer Worlds. And he had mentioned there was one story that he had told that I found fascinating, where he was just like back in the day, like pre 2010, pre 2005, like still in the 90s 2000 era, which I think is the golden era of video games. But anyway, he said developing back then, he would get into like these heated conversations with his colleagues about what was best for the game, or like what mechanics should go in, or how certain mechanics should work. And they would have like these screaming matches, but they weren't like aggressive. They were just passionate about like, my idea is going to make this game great, but like the other guy is like, no, it should be this way. And they would get like just stand in front of a whiteboard, just like writing shit and like comparing notes or whatever, and like arguing, but not in an unhealthy way, but in a passionate
debating. It's not really like
debating
argument.
more so. That's a good word. So he said that was like a natural occurrence. But then like fast forward to like developing games past the 2010s, people were like sensitive to that kind of environment. And like he had mentioned one story, like one guy, it was a programming thing. So he was like, hey, I need you to program this like combat targeting thing. And the guy was like, oh, I'm gonna need about 2 weeks to do that. And he goes, what do you mean you need 2 weeks to do that? You can do that in a day. You could do that in 30 minutes, actually. And he goes, no, I need 2 weeks. And so like the guy telling the story is like, he stops and he goes, this particular thing that I'm asking this person to do is a very rudimentary like programming thing that he can get done in an afternoon, really. And I'm being generous with that, right? This is what he said. And he was like, the programmer guy was like, nope, I need 2 weeks to do that, right? Mind you, a day of work for him is 2 weeks of work for this asshole, right? Which is why is there so much bloat? Well, there's just a lot of unskilled fucking workers in these like positions. But anyway, just to wrap up the story, it became like an HR thing where like the HR department had to get involved and sit these two down, and like they had to come up with a compromise, and like they eventually came to the compromise of, okay, we'll give you a week to do this one thing. And then like,
so the guy still wins.
Yeah. But anyway, just to wrap up, the guy telling the story was like, I'll show you, like before they got to the week compromise or whatever, he said, I'll show you what I mean. Like, and he did it. Like he did the work that he was trying to delegate to this other dude. He did it in like an hour and was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like I did it this way. You could do it the same way. And so the other guy took it as like as an attack in some way, like, oh, you're threatening my job or whatever. And it became this whole other thing. And like the guy telling the story was like, he just doesn't like this new crop of developers is just like really difficult to work with. And so that story, you just reminded me of that. I think we should watch that video together later. But like, it's super interesting. I really enjoy that guy's content. Just listening to these like, behind the curtain fucking development stories. But yeah, that happened, and so why is there so much bloat? Why are these companies losing so much money?
That's a concept I didn't
But
even
like
think
it's
of.
shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just people are so different now. I'm gonna use the word different, and sensitive, and just they don't have the same grit that people from.
So if you combine 5 people, 5 modern game developers, they'll equal that one guy who can get it
Effectively,
done in
maybe
a
even
day.
10 or 20 modern developers might be that one dude who can like
No,
get
it's
down.
definitely 20 because if it took him an hour and it could have took the guy freaking 30 minutes or an hour, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy's
Maybe
asking for
2
2
weeks.
weeks. Could you imagine, bro? Like, holy shit! Like, oh, I need you to pick up that box there and just put it on top of that shelf. That's like a 30-second job, right? But I'm gonna need like an hour. It's like, what do you mean you need an hour? What you gonna do? Fucking stretches?
Stretch?
Like, what? What is happening right
I
now?
gotta
Need to
stretch the
warm up and
glutes. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta hydrate, gotta do all this stuff to get
And
ready.
imagine the backlog that 2-week guy puts on the rest of the team. It's just like, well, I can't draw. I can't, the animator can't animate, and maybe sound design gets delayed, and it's like, okay, now I have to tell the voice actor, okay, come in in 2 weeks because bro can't do this thing. So like delays the
The whole
whole
fucking process. It becomes a domino
And
effect
it's
of
like,
fucking delays.
yeah. It's like now we got to delay it a year, guys, because it's him.
Assuming it's the only one, because you could get multiple Tims.
Multiple of
Just
that
like, I
guy
can't do it for
in
2
different
weeks.
departments, delaying different parts of the game, and it's just like, yo, this is crazy. Fascinating video. If I could find it, I'll link it in the. I'll put it as a top comment, in the comments, because for some reason we still can't.
We're not human enough for YouTube.
Description. Our description is not allowed to have clickable links. So if I find it, I'll link it for anybody who wants to watch that video. But like, fascinating stuff. But like, it also makes me weep for the future. But it's a future that needs to happen. Like, it needs to crash. Like the video game industry needs to crash.
Yeah, this is the entire point of this conversation. Really, I forgot how I wanted to do my intro, so that's why I let Gunner do it, because that was going to be in my intros, that I want this all to crash so that we could go back to tradition, to the strong developers being
You're not
here.
wrong.
I mean,
Who are
every time
passionate
I think it happens though, like Suicide Squad comes out, or like I don't know how many big hits these guys have to take before. I mean, Square Enix is still talking about NFTs in 2024. It's like, oh, we're gonna cut down on games and focus on NFTs. It's like, bro, that bubble.
You know
is
what
popped.
it is? It
The
happens
ship
in
sailed.
waves. So like, Square Enix, for example, they made money with Final Fantasy 16, but they didn't make nearly enough to call it like a success or a juggernaut.
Oh, you trust me, because they didn't brag about it.
Right, they didn't
so
say
yeah,
much.
You're definitely right.
And they kind of backpedal. Like, if you listen to them now, it's a air quotes generational title. So they'll be looking at how it does in the lifespan of the PS5 to then say whether or not it was a success. Which is like, now you're moving the goalposts, and now you're trying to like salvage whatever. Like, no, it's not a failure. Don't say that. We're still evaluating it. And it's like, no, dude, you wouldn't know by now if it was a success. Like, clearly there are games that have like super great launches. Like, look at God of War reboot. Look at this, Spider-Man 2018. Like, these games did extremely well. Like, in their first fucking launch window.
At the moment, they're only
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, they're only on PlayStation.
Like, these games did just fine, right? Just admit that your game just didn't hit. Like, it didn't hit the way it was supposed to, and you put too much money into it.
No, it's fine.
No, everything's fine. Meanwhile,
It'll
everything's
work.
burning behind them. Ifrit just did a fucking super attack. And like, no, nothing's on fire. What is this guy talking about?
It's because, we're not going to throw it under the bus like we did freaking Tomb Raider. We didn't make Tomb Raider. We don't care. Fuck freaking, what was it, Eidos, however you say it.
Eidos.
Crystal
Eidos,
Dynamics
yeah,
was the developer. Eidos used to be the old publisher.
Oh shit, I'm that far off.
Yeah,
Damn,
you
no.
talking some fucking 1999 shit, bro.
Yeah, I'm really fucking yeah. But like, yeah, they threw that under the bus real quick. It was like, Tomb Raider wasn't profitable. Get rid of it. But like a Final Fantasy game not being profitable, that's our baby. We can't.
That's the golden boy.
But then you have like, I love the game, but then you have like Dinky Triangle Strategy selling 500,000 copies. Like, yo, this sold how much? What the fuck? People still play this shit?
Yeah,
Yo, put it on Twitter. Look good.
That's another
Go ahead, I'm
problem
sorry.
with these people, is that they're just, no. I'm just gonna say that's another problem where they're just like, I don't know what freaking dark fucking Sauron is in the background just pushing that no, gamers don't want single player, gamers don't want this, gamers don't want this. Like, you don't know what the fuck I want. Go away. Stop lying.
You want
Stop
battle
lying. Yeah,
passes.
that's what you
You
want.
want
Just say that's what you
skins.
want and get it out the way.
You want to be nickel and dime.
Because yeah, that's what you want me to do. Because they keep saying it. They keep trying it. Like, this is not something that's like new. They've been repeating this for a while. They're just like, oh, nobody wants single player experiences. They want multiplayer and always online and all these other things. And then, as Gunnar says, they make freaking triangle strategy and just like, fuck, we're wrong.
Yeah, and then the
Fuck,
Star
we're
Ocean, the remake of 2, it's just like, yo, even the own dude, the guy, the people, the team that made it was like, wow, it did well. What the
Yeah, because the whole
the
freaking
fuck?
corporate has just freaking gaslight them into thinking like nobody really wants this. We'll do it, but nobody wants this. You're an idiot, and then they do it, and it's just like, oh shit, people like this. People
Happened
are happy.
with
What's going on?
Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. They relaunched it, and people slept on the game. And I was working GameStop at the time, and like people kept sleeping on the game. Even people in the company in sales was like, yeah, so we got Crash coming. I was like, bro, like you don't understand. Like this game is going to sell out. Like people want this shit, right? Me included. But like I saw the people asking and like the reservation numbers going on. I was like, yo, there's demand for this. And of course the game sold out and it did really well. And so well that we got a Crash Bandicoot 4 2 years later. Like and same thing happened with the Spyro trilogy. Spyro did really well, and now there's nothing has been confirmed, but like there's rumors that they're working on a new Spyro game. So like the old games are successful for a reason. It's not just nostalgia. Sure, nostalgia plays a big part, but like these games have a fundamental design philosophy that still speaks to modern gamers. Like who are we? Like what are we? How is that not clear? But apparently it's not.
Because the market says freaking motion capture and 4K and lifelike and insert buzzwords.
Ripping narratives.
Yeah, that's going to be another.
There's a market for that, but like, there's also market for other.
Market. That's the problem.
There is, but like, is it? Does every fucking game studio need to be that? No, like.
No, it doesn't.
It's not, but everybody wants to be that because
that's where the easy money is. That's what they think.
Yeah, they see Last of Us. They see
God of War, Horizon.
I don't even know. God of War. Yeah, and they like, oh, but they have such gripping storylines, and people cry when they finish the game, and it's just like, okay, cool. That's cool.
Side thing again, because I want to make this also. I gotta. Not that I think of any titles for these things. I gotta think of another title for that. It's like these gripping. Like I hate all those buzzwords, and I hate the.
You just hate everything that's modern. You old boomer.
The mystique around all of it, because it's like, I don't believe. Again, we're getting tangent, but I don't believe those games are going to really stand a test of time. Once it gets.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't believe these games.
But...
I don't think they will. Like I don't think people are going to sit in there going like, oh yeah, 10 years down the line, like, oh yeah, Last of Us, freaking Horizon Zero Dawn.
I think maybe Last of Us might have staying power. Not 2, but Last of Us. But it's not. I do agree that would you be talking about it 30 years from now, like how people like us, especially me, still talk about OG Final Fantasy VII, even though the remake's a thing, and it's just like, nah, but I remember OG 7. And 7 had a really good storyline, even though 9's my favorite. A lot of the Final Fantasy games, kind of up to 10, in my opinion, had really good storylines, but nobody used that terminology like gripping, emotional, heartfelt. It was just like, nah, it was cool. It was a good story. I enjoyed it. It was good.
And you remember key points because you were just like, oh, that was cool. And various other stuff, or certain characters. And just like, I don't feel like that's going to happen later on for the stuff that we have out now. Like, I don't think people are going to remember Assassin's Creed. They'll remember some, but like the vast majority of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, because it's all manufactured now. It's all like, this is the algorithm. Yeah, it's not natural. Like people, like I know the development team on OG 7 was like, all right, people gonna lose their shit when Aerith dies. They're not gonna see it coming. She gonna die. But like, that was genuine emotion because you were playing with the character, and all of a sudden she's dead. It's like, all right, cool, that was cool. So Phoenix down. It's not working. Why is she not getting back up?
What do you mean?
She's coming back, right? And then like at least when I first played, I'm like, all right, she's coming back. I'm on disc 3. All right, she's coming back. I'm on disc 4. Yeah, she's coming back. I finished the game. The credits are rolling. I'm like, oh shit, she didn't
Yeah,
come
he
back.
held hope for a long time there.
Yeah, I was like, yo, bro, she's like my healer. Like, I got her ultimate weapon first. Now I'm an adult. I'm like, oh, they gave
That's
you the
why.
ultimate. That's why she gets her ultimate weapon faster than anybody because she's dead for the rest of the game. But like, that's a natural occurring thing. Now you get like a modern game doing that. There's like trailers and they show half the fucking game in the trailer, and they're trying to build up this artificial hype with the voice actor making some nebulous statement on Twitter about, oh man, it was really good to travel the world with you guys. I'll miss you. And everybody's like, oh, what the fuck should he do? What does she mean? And it's just all like BuzzFeed level like
So
hype.
I
It's
agree
like,
with you, right? But I'll push back a little bit because I think there is a fine line between like Last of Us 2, Horizon. I'm sorry for anybody who likes those games. I apologize, but like I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Those games are like cringe, fucking modern gaming. They're everything I hate about modern games. And then there's like a game like Ghost of Tsushima, which I think is like the best example of what a good modern game can be. Same thing with Spider-Man 2018. I think those games are like shining examples of like modern games that have gripping story. I know you don't like that word, but listen, Ghost of Tsushima, spoiler alert, at the end when damn, what's the guy's name? Jin Sakai, and he was about to he met up his uncle at the top of where he grew up fucking practicing being a samurai or whatever. Like when they had their final moment together, and like you're given the decision to either kill your uncle or betray tradition and become the ghost and just leave him living. Like that was a bit. I was like, whoa, like. And I don't get caught up in video game stories, but like that one got me. I was because it had been so well written and so well executed by the voice actors, by the writers, by just the overall story. It was so well done to that point that I was like choked up. I was like, wow, this is so fucking emotional. And I remember like what did I choose? I left him alive, and I stayed as the ghost. And there was like a line where like, the uncle was like, you betrayed tradition and blah blah blah. Like you're not a samurai. And then he looks back. He's like, I'm not. I'm the ghost. And he puts on the fucking mask and walks. And then they hit the music. I was like, yo, this game is fucking amazing. Last of Us who? Last of Us who? What are you talking about? This game is the shit. So that game really got me. So like it can work, but in all of that, there was a fantastic game in that story.
Yeah, I was gonna push back on that.
There's a fantastic game in that story.
That game was not meant for I don't want to say modern audience, but I'm going to say
casual
modern
players.
Audience. It wasn't like was there any DLC? I don't even think there was DLC.
A year later.
There was DLC
for it.
Yeah.
It was just like an additional island.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think it was that much. It was only
it was like maybe 2 hours more content. Like
yeah, but like they did a lot for like when I say I don't think things will last, like I don't consider the Ghost of Tsushima one because like a lot of what they put into that game was because they care. Like the games where like the studio's like, yo, we really care about this, those will be fine. But the vast majority of it is just I just want to do current thing and get your money and use buzzwords and all this other stuff. Like as far as Ghost of Tsushima, like the biggest thing that was on that was just people bitching about the guy playing the flute.
I remember that. How do they have this white man play this Japanese instrument? Because he's good at it. What the fuck?
Meanwhile,
what do you want?
He's good at it, and he's one of the remaining masters. And it's just like that's how much they cared about it. They went to go find a person who freaking traditionally knows how to use that instrument and is a master at using that instrument. That's how much they cared.
He just happened to be American, or I don't even know, or Westerner.
Yeah, but that's how much they cared about that game and making it authentic.
The other thing I remember hearing about after Ghost of Tsushima came out, But like Japanese people were kind of upset because all the Japanese people in the game looked air quotes ugly. And I was like, what? That was so funny. I was like, they're not ugly. They look fine to me.
They look 3D.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no Instagram filters back then, so I don't know what you want.
But I just that shit was
There was no
that shit
anime.
was hilarious. It was like, why are they so ugly? I think they're so like used to anime and shit. It's like that's not how real people look. So, all right, whatever. I think the game looks great. I would smash Yuri. Who cares? Well, anyway, yeah. So I think God of War 2018, Spider-Man 2018, Ghost of Tsushima, and I would add God of War Ragnarok to that list. Those are games that are like good modern games. Even though God of War Ragnarok, I think they added a lot of shit to that game. I was just like,
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna maybe the like you said the other one, but I don't think Ragnarok is going to be one that people are just like, oh yeah, like they'll remember it existing, but they're not going to treat it the same way like when if the first one came out and they were just like, oh shit, we're back with Kratos.
yeah,
And even then, well, no, the PS2 ones were eh. I mean, people liked it, but I
they're
thought they were eh.
iconic, but they have not aged well, and I
Yeah.
was never a fan of them to begin with.
Yeah.
Personally, and I have reasons
either.
as to why. I won't go into it because that's another podcast of how to not have good boss battles. But anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, so any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
I AAA needs to hurry up and die and stop having all this bloat. These I don't want businessmen in charge because none of these studios should be in the thousands, and then on a what's the word? What's the usage per capita basis? These smaller studios be outdoing them with just a fraction of the people on their team, or doing stuff, and then people just using that as the standard or the baseline of how games should be.
Yeah, agree.
That's really all I want, because like all these people want to make the new popular thing, but then we got like we got you hooked on freaking Lethal Company.
That game is fun.
Freaking was it $10?
$10.
$10 game.
Great.
$10 game. Freaking guy making millions of dollars. We got freaking
Good for him. I'm so
Thomas
happy for him.
recording.
Whoever he is, listen, man, good shit, man. Like keep at it. Like you made it,
that.
man.
We got that. We got the PAL world.
Mhm.
We have, not that I got to it, but I got freaking on my list. I got like Stardew Valley. That was like one guy,
Yeah, that
that
was a
made
really
it.
good example.
and that's the standard. Like before, it used to be Harvest Moon. Everything was Harvest Moon. Now everything's like, oh, this is like Stardew Valley. Harvest Moon has been replaced. Harvest Moon is not the standard for the farming simulator.
Yeah.
Now it's like Stardew Valley.
Yeah, true.
It's like these smaller, just I want to use buzzwords. These hungry freaking developers are freaking just outdoing what the studios with all the money are doing. Like why is, I mean, I know Stardew Valley's kind of old, but why is Stardew Valley doing so great? And what is it that Square Enix did? Harvestelia, however you say it.
Harvestelia? Yeah, Harvestelia.
Yeah, where even then they tried to be like the later editions of Room Factor, and it's just like, but it just really didn't go anywhere, and it wasn't very well done. It's just like, what are
Too
you
many
doing
cooks
wrong?
in the kitchen, man. It's real simple.
Man,
Yeah.
But-
Very quickly, I'll just say this goes back to support. Support the stuff that respects you as a person and a customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just I get it. These indie games might not be for everybody, but indie games are like manga in Japan. There's a manga for everybody. There's an indie game for you. You know, a lot of people like these comfy games, and we might not like them, but they tend to have a lot of love and passion and dedication put into them. There's an indie game for you. Support the stuff that deserves to be supported, and even stuff from like big stuff like Triangle Strategy. That's a small fish in the big Square Enix ocean. Support that game. Maybe some guy at Square Enix will go, you know what? That did all right. Make another one of those. And that's how you see stuff that deserves to get its time in the spotlight. That's how stuff gets like that. So
Yeah, that's how we got 2 Bravely Defaults.
yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's it. Just support what support the guys that deserve the support. In my opinion.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say that has been said already. Um, support the small guys, and stop. I mean, listen, if you're gonna play battle royale games or like these predatory like games that just like Genshin Impact, gotcha games, and like all this stuff. I mean, listen, if you're gonna do that, then you have to be okay with the outcome and the result that it's going to have on the industry. But if you truly want to change it, then you do have to vote with your wallet, and you have to stay strong and support the right side, or at least what I think is the right side, which is the side we're talking about, indie side, the developers who actually produce this stuff. And I feel bad for people who work in these bigger companies and have to basically bend the knee to like these bigger executives, because it's like, well, it's my dream to work on games. It's my dream to 3D animate. I want to 3D animate for video games. So I have to do what I'm told, right? I can't create. And that's really sad. Like it's really sad that like they're not allowed to just be creative. They're just cogs in the machine. It's like, nope, just produce, just 3D model. And it a lot of these people are artists, not just like 3D modelers and 2D artists, but also like music composers and voice actors and like all segments of creativity. Like some of these people aren't allowed to just be creative, and that's really sad. So I feel bad for you guys if anybody's listening and they're in that camp. Like just know that like that doesn't go unnoticed. At least not by me. Like I know that's like a really sad reality, that your dream job and your passion has just become this monotonous task just to produce and extort money out of the very fans that you once identified as, and that's really disgusting. So the industry does need to change. It does need to collapse so that these fucking mongrels can go away, so that things can kind of go back to how they used to be. So anyway, with that being said,
wait, before you go, because just as a quick point, because now that you said that, just
because I said mongrels
as an aside. No, yes, just goddamn mongrels. But like as an aside, because like not me and Gunner, but mostly me and Kong, where it's like we have the same kind of thing when we talk about wrestling, and where I'm just like, I really hate that all these people go to WWE and then it just like nothing happens, and it's just like, why do these people keep doing it? And you just said the same thing now, and I didn't think about it. It was just like it's money, but it's also like, oh, this is the dream. Like, oh, my dream is to work for WWE and do this, and this, and have this storyline and have all this, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't go anywhere. You're just a cog, and you're just like, oh, we have nothing for you. Stay in the back.
Yeah, enjoy nice catering.
Like as you said it, yeah, I thought about it. It's like
you're on main event wrestling some other fucking mid carder or lower card guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just imagine like somebody's like, oh, I freaking like the people who made Sea of Stars. They're just like, oh, we love freaking Chrono Trigger. Imagine one of those guys went to freaking work for Square and it's like, oh, I want to make stuff for like Chrono Trigger. It's like, we literal fucking Wakanda meme. We don't do that here.
Game development. No, we don't do that here.
Yeah. So yeah, just throw that. Yeah, now that you said it,
instead of get this man a shield, it's like get this man generic fucking game design document. Battle Royale, please. Thank you. Battle Pass.
Yeah, so get this guy on the gotcha team.
Yeah, so
we got another 7 freaking gotcha game to make.
So anyway, yeah, with that being said, for those listening, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. This one's a little off the cuff, kind of a random topic, but it's one that Zeta was really passionate about and wanted to talk about. And I'm glad we had a conversation.
Don't worry, there'll be another.
Huh?
I said, don't worry, there'll be another one.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. We'll watch something on YouTube and it'll spark some fucking hidden rage in you, and it's like, this is a topic now. So that's fine. I'll continue to find stuff to piss you off, and then that'll be a good farming node for content topics. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the conversation, leave a like on the video, dislike if you didn't like it. Comment down below, let us know what you think, what's your opinions on modern game development and just the population of some of these studios, and the fact that there are studios, I don't even want to say studios, there are small teams of people making fucking fantastic games that large studios can't even hold a candle to, which is pathetic. But let us know what you think about that. Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts every week. We launch a podcast episode every Wednesday at 12 p.m. We also do other videos as well, so check out our catalog of videos. Check us out on the social media. We have a Discord, we have a Twitter, we have an Instagram, Facebook. We run a Discord as well. There's the stream. Mr. Esoteric, who isn't currently present, he runs a stream. He's Logical Gamers on Twitch. The links are usually in the description. However, they're currently inactive for some reason. So if you want to click directly to those links, if you go to our homepage, they'll be available on our homepage. You can check us out there. So anyways, with that being said, have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Till next time.